Bob, I was looking at the International Forecaster this morning, and I was looking at the home foreclosures. Man, oh man. Boise, Idaho, 1 in 21 homes is in foreclosure. Sarasota, Florida, 1 in 21. Lakeland, Florida, I've been there, 1 in 21. Tampa, 1 in 20. And it gets worse than that. That's the good news. This is unbelievable. If you go to Sacramento, California, it's 1 in 19. Bob, this is terrible.
Well, you know what's even worse? The building industry continues to build homes.
What are they thinking?
Well, I don't know what they're thinking, but, we're looking at something like 560,000 this year, and you get an inventory that by this time next year should be about 3.5 million homes that will be in the hands of lenders, and they have to sell them. And how can a new home that you have to build, say, for $150,000, how can it compete with a 5-year-old home that's selling for $100,000? It's just mind-blowing. And all they're doing is adding to the grief brought on by the inventory.
I was looking at your statistics on the International Forecaster. I have a friend, actually we have a mutual friend who will remain nameless on this class, but he and his wife want to move up to Missouri, and he would like to buy a property that has some acreage. It's actually a small farm. And I called my friend at the bank, and I asked him what kind of a loan, what kind of a rate would be available. And the rate is about 5% to above 8%, depending on this person's credit. And I don't know this person's credit rating, so I can't comment on that. But what I'm saying is the bank is willing to lend money with 80% loan to value, but the banks are getting money almost free from the Federal Reserve. So they're making a killing on lending money that doesn't cost them anything from the Federal Reserve. It's unbelievable.
I know. It's been going on for some time.
And here's the other thing.
And the major corporations are getting, they're paying 1/4 or 1/10% to borrow money. The banks themselves are borrowing money from the Fed and then lending back to them. And they borrow from the Fed, say at 1/4 or 1%, and they lend it back to the Fed at 2.5%. I mean, the monkey shines that are going on are unbelievable.
Yeah, and
the public just doesn't know. I talk about it on radio in my column. I reach millions of people all over the world, obviously, but I'm not reaching enough.
Well, we're doing our best to help you. By the way, how many markets are you in broadcast radio in the United States? Do you know?
Gee, I really don't. I do about 40 hours of programming a week, and as you know, much of it goes out on the internet, satellite, shortwave, and some of the shortwave stations have big reach. So I'm probably hitting about, I'd say 10 to 30 million people a day.
Hey, Bob, we had a gentleman, Vinny's had multiple calls. I've had calls about people in the area saying, I cannot believe you have Bob Chapman on your radio station, on your broadcast radio station. People are very impressed, especially in the Ozarks, that you're on with us every Tuesday, and they are listening intently to what you have to say, and we most certainly appreciate you coming on here every Tuesday.
Well, I thank them for listening, and Vince and I go back a long way. In fact, his boy goes back longer than he does, and so it just happened that way.
Well, someone asked me, how did you guys get Bob Chapman on broadcast radio? And I said yesterday on the air, I said, we're friends. And that's how we did it. And Bob Chapman is an honest man, and he tells it like it is. It's uncomfortable to hear some of the things you say, Bob, but they're necessary to hear. And you expose the lies, the fraud, the deception that's happening all over the world. And it's painful to the politicians who perpetrate these frauds and lies. But we need to take our country back. So, Bob, what do we do?
Why don't you tell folks how they can get the International Forecaster, and then we're going to have to take a break, and we'll come back with Bob on the other side.
Class, it's really simple. All you have to do is go to usaprepares.com, send us an email, say, I'd like a copy of the International Forecaster. You may abbreviate that IF, International Forecaster. We will batch up all those requests and send them right over to Bob Chapman for immediate processing.
Fantastic. Hey, if you don't get your copy, you're missing a lot. This is Mark Wright. I'm with Vincent Finelli and also Bob Chapman from the International Forecaster. We'll return with Bob in just a few minutes.
2011 was a great year at your Chevy dealers of the Ozarks. And now during their model year wrap-up, save big on the full line of Chevys. Like the most dependable, longest-lasting truck on the road, the 2011 Chevy Silverado All-Star Edition. Now with a total value of $6,000. Or the Chevy Malibu, a Consumer's Digest Best Buy, now with $2,500 cash back. Don't miss the model year wrap-up at your Chevy dealers of the Ozarks. Not available with some other offers. Excludes leases. See dealer for details. Take delivery by 9/6/11.
The quality of a car wash depends on the equipment, chemicals, and the time spent cleaning your car in the tunnel. Mr. Zippy's has one of the longest exterior express tunnels in Springfield. Better than any competitor's short tunnel, soap suds down. And for the same price. Ask for an additional $1 off your wash from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and 5 to 7 p.m. And don't forget Mr. Zippy's free vacuum with each wash. Mr. Zippy's at the corner of Sunshine and Kansas Expressway. Wash green and cruise clean. Here's news on the Ozarks News Network. Springfield police are searching for a man who robbed Come and Go this morning at National and Division. Police say the man took some cash, cigarettes, and a mountain bike. No injuries are reported. 3 people are being questioned after that apparent meth lab fire at the Cloud Drift Motel on Springfield's southwest side. Sheriff Jim Arnott is urging landlords to do their research before renting to any tenant to make sure they don't have a history with the drug. Charges could be presented today. And the Wonders of Wildlife Museum must now provide the city of Springfield with yearly updates on how it's spending public money. That was decided at last night's city council meeting as council amended its contract with the museum. It receives about $360,000 a year from the city's hotel-motel tax, but has never been required to show how it's spending its money. For the Ozarks News Network, I'm Arlen Summers.
Hot and humid this afternoon. We'll have sun and some clouds with temperatures topping out at 95 degrees. Remaining warm and humid tonight. It'll be mainly clear with a low of 75. Very hot and humid tomorrow and Thursday. Lots of sunshine with highs of 98 both days. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Heather Zaire.
It's 98 degrees at AM 560 KWTO.
There's one company in southwest Missouri that can supply everything you need to open a restaurant: Arctic Food Equipment. Arctic Food Equipment supplies everything from tables and chairs to commercial food equipment and refrigeration. The service technicians receive factory training every year, so they're up to date on the latest equipment. Now check out Arctic Food Equipment's huge showroom at 1501 South Enterprise. That's just north of Mediacom, or call 888-0100. Arctic Food Equipment, quality equipment and professional service.
See our ad in names and numbers.
Please return to your seats. Class is now in session at usaprepares.com. Interact now by emailing instructor@usaprepares.com or text 417-200-4715. And now, Vincent Finelli and Mark Wright.
And we're back on USA Prepares. I am Mark Wright. I'm here with Vincent Finelli. And Vinny, we have Bob Chapman on the line, but before we get back to him, I think Bob would agree with this. You see the devaluation of this dollar, gold, silver going up, up, up. And I'm sure glad that we have good friends at Swiss America who provide us with great information and deals on gold.
Class, we've got a book. It's destined to be a bestseller, The Inflation Deception. It's free to our class. There's a number that you call just for our class, 800-630-1498. 800-630-1498. The Inflation Deception. Free to our class. Bob, Blue Cross is offering incentives to 1,600 of their employees to buy or rent downtown Detroit. Unbelievable. They're paying people to move into the areas that they are employed in downtown Detroit, which I believe is number 3 in crime in the world. Is that right? Or at least the country?
No, it's in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're going to do that, they're going to have to give instructions and issue AR-15s or AK-47s.
Oh,
yeah, it's interesting, Bob, you say that. I know you've been involved in a few shootouts in your day also. I sleep with an AR-15 and a 45, and I think that, isn't the 45 your choice?
That and the 357 Auto, the Sig Sauer. Those two are favorites of mine.
Well, Bob, I tell you what, you were one of my heroes. You just went up another notch in my book, if that's possible.
But I will say one thing. If you're going to have a 45, you must have it totally tricked out so that you can effectively be successful at 50 feet.
Mm-hmm. Bob, I understand that, I know we're digressing a little bit here, but I understand that at one time you were involved in a shootout and you ran out of cartridges and someone near you threw another firearm and you finished the rest of the shootout. Is that right?
That's right. 9mm Browning high power. And the hammer was back, flew through the air. I caught it and just kept on shooting.
Bob, was that in your CIA days?
No. That was in a home I lived in Malibu. I had a home invasion robbery, and those people picked the wrong house.
Obviously, I was thinking, man, this is a massive CIA shootout. No, this was in his home.
And what amazed me is, this is next to Pepperdine University, is nobody ever came out. And I fired something like 35 rounds or something like that.
Jeez.
Oh, my.
And then on top of that, my wife, my son, and my daughter were sitting there with ARs, two 30-shot clips taped together, all ready to go for 60 rounds each. And I kept them from doing it because, in your crowded area and those things carry, whereas pistol bullets don't have the velocity, as you all know. And so, but I, finished it up the way I had to.
Well, we're not going to ask you to discuss the rest of that, but okay, so it does happen. It does happen in great neighborhoods. It happens in terrible neighborhoods. Bob, the median yearly wage in the United States is somewhere around $26,200. We're not keeping up with inflation. And as inflation continues, we're going to continue choosing between food, shelter, medicine, I guess, and crime, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, there across this country, Mark and I talked yesterday, there is a car lot in Texas where thieves stole every tire and wheel off 35 vehicles. They put them up on blocks. They must have come in very quickly, and 140 wheels and tires were gone. They're stealing manhole covers, storm grates,
air conditioners, copper off of power lines. I mean, Bob, anything that's not literally locked down, it's missing. It's gone. It's being stolen. I mean,
even things that are locked down.
Yeah, well, that's true too. It's just unbelievable. I mean, we're seeing the degradation of this society in front of our very eyes.
Are you seeing this all over the world with your contacts, Bob?
Well, every other week for the last several years, I've done a show with Stan Solomon in Indianapolis, and often he has the police chief there, and he expressed the same sentiment that kind of crime is starting to climb, and it's because of unemployment. It's not the right thing to do, but many people have been out of work for a long time. I mean, there are people who have been living on federal and state subsidies